all part of the new technology. My name is Martin McMahon. I'm a solicitor with specialist accreditation in local government and town planning law. I'm here this evening to conduct a public hearing into the proposed amendment to the Hurstville Local Environmental Plan to reclassify land in Taylor's Reserve, part of it to be moving across from community land to operational land. And that'll be explained in detail by Jeremy Dwyer. So I think at this stage I'll hand it over to Jeremy.
Hello. Can we have the presentation put up, please? Sure. All right, so a bit of context. Taylor Avenue, which runs around Taylor Reserve, has been in use, as we understand, since the 1960s, and it's an informal road used by both council and adjoining residents. For several dwellings, it is the only access to the broader road network, both departing residences as well as for service vehicles and emergency vehicles accessing properties. The image you see to the right in blue are those properties adjoining Taylor's Reserve that have either or pedestrian access to Taylor's Reserve. Next slide, please. In August of 2017, Council prepared a planning proposal to reclassify Lot 2, which Taylor Avenue runs along, from community land to operational land. This was to enable a right-of-way and easement for 10 adjoining lots and enable the delivery of a new road, effectively giving those lots right of way over council land to access the road. Now, the reason they need to be classified from community to operational is that under the Local Government Act, it could not remain community land as a public road. So that needed to occur, and that was the intent of the 2017 planning proposal. Next slide, please. Consequently, Council investigated several options for the design of the proposed road, and the preferred option, as identified in November 2018, was a 6-metre wide road, which required the further reclassification of part of Lot 1, which runs along Taylor Reserve. You can see on the image to the right, the red is the total area proposed to be reclassified, and you can see a green border between Lot 2 and Lot 1, and so that sliver in the middle designates the part of Lot 1 that is to be reclassified. So as a result, part of Lot 1 that calculates to an area of 320 square metres of a narrow, thin strip. So as a result of the need to reclassify part of Lot 1, a new planning proposal or an amended planning proposal needed to be tabled. Next slide, please. So a planning proposal was prepared and presented to Council's Environment and Planning Committee on the 14th of October 2019, and was endorsed by both them and Council. And a part of that endorsement of the planning proposal, Council agreed to note that the delivery of the public road was to be a separate process. This process was strictly a legal process to change the reclassification of the land, or to change the classification, I should say. Council also agreed to consider maintaining the existing alignment in order to minimise impact on trees or to retain the tree canopy where possible. And where trees had to be removed, Council committed to replace the mature trees with plantings of an appropriate species. And also Council considered that any loss of the open space as a result of the delivery of the road would be considered as part of Council's open space strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just invite the first member of the public, Megan Argent. I will call her now. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Megan Argent on the line. Megan, you have joined the meeting and the meeting can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to begin?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the Taylor Reserve planning proposal. My name is Megan Argent. I'm a resident of Lugano and I represent the community group Friends of Evatt Park. Our members are looking to work collaboratively with the Georges River Council, local government and the community to find ways to maintain and enhance biodiversity and habitat in our urbanised suburbs. Please note our appreciation of the Council's response to the community's expressed wishes to preserve and protect the environment and biodiversity as detailed passionately during the LEP process. I feel that this is an opportunity for Council to continue its commitment to respond to a strong community sentiment. As Taylor Reserve is the last of a larger pocket of remnant vegetation, it is important that native trees be retained or replanted where absolutely possible. I appreciate that Brendan Metcalf of the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment has come back with alterations to the gateway determination conditioning the detailing of trees that will be potentially impacted. In response to these conditions, the Council has listed a preliminary estimate of these trees on page 8 of the supplementary planning proposal dated 1st of June 2020, item 5.2, details of trees and mitigation. The Council states that the delivery of the public road and its impact on the trees is yet to be determined. However, I would like to highlight that successful retention of trees happens when they are factored in early in the development process. Council state that tree 1, 7 and 8 are to be replaced with offset planting. My question is this to extend to tree number 2, 3 and 5? If removed, will they be offset within the reserve with native stock genetic to the area? The Council's tree management plan during the LEP process stated that 2 replacement trees would be planted for each of those that are lost. So far, nothing has been planted to replace the loss of the mature tree at the entrance to Taylor Reserve in Limekiln Road this year after it fell victim to the drought and subsequent storms. In addition to this, no trees have been planted in Evatt Park for at least 4 years and no trees have been planted to replace the trees that have been lost through environmental reasons or vandalism. Further to this, the only trees that were planted by the locals have all been killed or mown over by council themselves. In light of this, I feel it necessary to start raising awareness of the need for replacement trees in our suburb and to ensure there is a fulfilment of the obligations in relation to Taylor's Reserve. This is needed if Council is to meet its own target of 40% tree canopy in the Georges River LGA and the Greater Sydney Commission's Objective 30 for increasing urban tree canopy. I would also like to address the importance of assessing hollow-bearing trees. The trees have not been assessed for hollows, as far as I know, which can be protected breeding sites for threatened species. Without an assessment, it will not be possible for the Council to know how to approach this with sensitivity. In an effort to maintain the status of breeding sites and shelter for biodiversity, I would like to emphasise the point Brendan Metcalf makes in detailing the trees and appreciate that there was a tree assessment was done. And add to this by proposing that the trees cited for removal are also assessed for hollows and, if required, alternative means in the form of carved out hollows or nesting boxes be considered under the advice of an ecologist to help provide a means to maintain the level of biodiversity within the park. Many mature native trees have been lost and we need to replace them. And even then, hollows can take 100 years to develop. If you plant 2 trees to replace them, we will not see them mature to hollow bearing in our lifetime. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that amongst other councils, Sutherland Shire Council commendably has planted Angofras as street trees. It would be a positive step if Georges River Council would follow suit. This would also be in line with its key actions in relation to Taylor Reserve in local planning priority P17. Tree canopy, bushland, landscape settings and biodiversity are protected, enhanced and promoted. I appreciate the Council resolving on page 10 of the Supplementary Planning Proposal Report to minimise impacts, particularly on trees where possible. However, after witnessing the lack of replacement in trees across the LGA and both in Taylor Reserve and Evatt Park, and loss of the new trees that were planted at the hands of the Council, we're deeply concerned that there will be a similar lack of follow-through from these statements in Taylor's Reserve. In closing, I would like to thank the Georges River Council for its effort in rectifying, in part, the damage done to some habitat areas in Evatt Park, and look forward to seeing their commitment to biodiversity and tree canopy being fulfilled in Taylor Reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. You got any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Megan will be terminating your call now, but you're free to continue watching online. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Mr. Chair, I will now make a call to Susan Brown, who will be next to address the meeting. Mr. Chair, I can confirm that Susan Brown has been connected to the meeting. Susan, you are connected to the public meeting and the meeting can hear you. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Susan Brown. I live at property 1057 Forest Road, Lugano. My property is one of the homes affected by the council proposal. I have vehicular access from Tallers Avenue and I'm unable to access my home from Forest Road. I would like to speak in support of the planning proposal to reclassify land at Taylor's Reserve Lugano from community to operational land to enable the delivery of the public road along the informal access track known as Taylor's Avenue. This proposal directly impacts my property, 1057 Forest Road, as the existing track along the park provides the only vehicular access to my house, driveway and carport. There are a number of other residences also in the area that also face the reserve with the same issue, with this access being their only access to their properties. Council has approved these design arrangements as the various residences were constructed, and the proposal to provide a public road over Tallers Avenue will simply formalise the access. I bought the house in the early 1990s, so I've lived in this location for over 25 years. My house was constructed in the 1970s and is designed around vehicular and pedestrian access only from Taylor's Reserve. The land is too steep down to Forest Road to obtain vehicular access. A lot of the residents in this location, again, are in the same situation. They bought in good faith, believing we had the right to vehicular access from Taylor's Avenue. In fact, there's a dual occupancy subdivision that occurred very recently next to my property in the 90s, which cut off any vehicular access from Forest Road, 1055B Forest Road. This property has been purchased recently by a young family who were also under the impression that there wasn't any problems around the existing Taylor's Avenue access when they purchased. The council resolutions of 2000 and 2018 resolved to provide a public road without cost to the residents, and the most recent resolution also confirms this. By formalising the track as a public road, it would ensure there is no confusion for emergency vehicles in locating properties, potentially saving lives. It would provide for local traffic that currently uses the track, provide for the community that uses the park. It would enable the use of the council constructed disabled toilet that currently has no disabled access. It would provide for the council's garbage trucks that service the residences and Taylor's Reserve, provide for the council trucks, etc., that service the Taylor's Avenue parkland, mowers, trucks, whatever. And it provides for utility service access, for example, electricity. I'd also like to note that this issue is causing major distress for all the residents affected, as we are all concerned about being able to get and retain access to our homes. It continues on over years without final resolution. Residents affected include pensioners, retired people, young families. We all simply want to have this issue finally resolved. I seek your support for the proposed reclassifications to enable the public road to proceed, and request that this matter be dealt with in a timely manner to minimise the ongoing stress to the local residents affected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No question. Thank you. So I read your submission that was sent on the 7th of August, which is very similar to what you just said. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We'll be terminating your call now, but you're free to continue watching on the webcast. Thank you. Mr. Chair, I apologise. I'll be now connecting Russell Green to the meeting. Mr. Chair, I can confirm that Russell Green has been connected to the meeting. Mr. Green, you've been connected to the public meeting and you can be heard by the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Russell Green. I live at 2A Woodlands Avenue, Lugano, and which is at the start of Taylor's Reserve. So just to add a few extra points from the last speaker, this matter has obviously been going on for a number of years now, and you know, it has created a lot of angst among all the residents, and we certainly just want some formalisation to this matter. I suppose at the end of the day, there's issues, you know, the emergency vehicles, it's the only access that they have to the properties, council services as well, and also obviously the residents, it's the only vehicle access available to their properties. This situation has been created by council, and the residents certainly believe that it's something that council should resolve, and they certainly have a duty to bring some finality to this matter. So we certainly support the current proposal. You know, there's certainly been a number of options over the years and different options. I suppose at the end of the day, the residents just want to sort of proceed and get something formalised as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Green, we will now terminate your call, but you're free to continue watching the webcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I will now make a call to Eva Rizzo to join the meeting. Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. Chair, I can confirm that Eva Rizzo has been connected to the meeting. Ms. Rizzo, you are connected to the public meeting and you can be heard by the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. My name's Eva Rizzo. We're in 24 Lime Kiln Road, so we're actually on the opposite side of the previous two speakers. The questions that we had have actually been answered. So yeah, we support for the road to be acknowledged. Obviously to make it easier for all the residents who live along Taylor Avenue.
Mr. Chair, I can confirm that Eva Rizzo has been connected to the meeting. Ms. Rizzo, you are connected to the public meeting and you can be heard by the meeting. Thank you. Ms. Rizzo, if I could please get you to mute your webcast of this meeting. It is repeating.
So we're actually on the opposite side of the previous two speakers. The questions that we have actually been answered. So yeah, we support for the road to be acknowledged. Obviously, to make it easier for all the residents who live along Taylor Avenue.
Mr. Chair, I can confirm that Eva Rizzo has been connected to the meeting. Ms. Rizzo, you are connected to the public meeting and you can be heard by the meeting. Thank you. Ms. Rizzo, if I could please get you to mute your webcast of this meeting. It is repeating.
So we're actually on the opposite side of the previous two speakers. Okay. Well, that's it really. We don't have anything else to say.
I think it speaks for itself. The lady's in support of the proposal. If the machine was working properly now, she could repeat what she said if she likes to.
Ms. Rizzo, if I could just check with you that you have muted your webcast of this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic. We'd like to give you an opportunity to repeat your address to the meeting because there was some significant overlay and feedback with your live discussion with the meeting versus the delay in the webcast.
Okay, no, we're in 24 Limekiln Road, so we're opposite the previous two speakers. And what we were saying is that all our questions had been answered during the meeting. So we support for all the, obviously for all the residents have access to their properties. So by formalising the road, it would be like good for them.
Thank you.
Is it just going to be? Is it going to be formalised as in just on paper, or is there going to be? What's the actual development going to be on the road?
There's a from a legal perspective, what happens is the land gets moved across from being community land to operational land.
Yeah.
Then the operational land becomes a public road, which gives the land a whole lot more flexibility in the way people can actually get to their houses. In other words, it'll be the same as any other road.
Yeah, that's fair enough, because the access around is actually quite minimal. It's only the residents who use it. It's not a thoroughfare. So it shouldn't be really a problem for anyone else. It's as long as those residents have access to their home, which is good for everyone.
Well, actually, being a public road, there's a provision of the Roads Act 1993 which says that you automatically have the right to get from your property onto the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, we've got no further questions.
Yeah. There's a comment from one of our staff here.
Hello there, it's Meryl Bishop here. I'm the Director of Environment and Planning. It probably would, I might just outline the process in relation to the way forward, Ms. Rizzo. So I guess this is, so the planning proposal has been on exhibition. It was on exhibition in June, July. It's also a requirement because of the reclassification of the land from community to operational. That's why we're holding this public meeting this evening. So once this has been held and we get back the report from the chair, Mr. McMahon, we will then report that back to the outcomes of the consultation of the planning proposal and the outcomes of this evening's meeting. We will report that back to council for a determination regarding the reclassification of the land. Once that is, the council makes a decision on that, and let's say it's in support of the reclassification, we then send that into the Department of Planning and they formally reclassify the land. Then, as Mr. McMahon has indicated, then it sort of leaves the planning process and then it goes into, working with our property team and our assets and our infrastructure team about designing and formalising the road. So it's probably...
Okay, so it'll be asphalt and then curb and gutted.
Look, at this stage, I can't give you that answer. I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I think what we might do is try and cover some of that in our report to council when the planning proposal returns. Now, the planner that's working on the proposal, he's just going to add a bit more to what I've indicated.
So I'll just speak to that. So the plan proposal itself notes that the specific design of the road has not been finalised. So that is a process to occur later down the track, as Meryl indicated. So the nature of the design being the curb and the guttering has not been decided upon yet.
Okay.
So yeah, that is to be determined, and that's the process to come.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rizzo. We'll be terminating your call now, but you're free to continue watching on the public broadcast. Thank you. Mr. Chair, that is the end of the public participation of this meeting, with the 4 speakers having addressed the meeting.
I prepare a report which I will send to the council, and the council makes the ultimate decision. So thank you everybody for participating. I now declare this meeting closed.